Happy Friday, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. My name is John, and I'm a game developer working on an indie game called Fantasy Football Tactics. It is a turn-based tactics game, sort of inspired by like Final Fantasy Tactics, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, Fire Emblem, those sorts of games. And the short version is it's Final Fantasy Tactics with a football, or Final Fantasy Tactics meets Tecmo Super Bowl. And so I thought I would start today. Well, backing up a second. So I started live streaming on YouTube. It's pretty fun. And I'm hoping we can create a community around the game. And for people that like fantasy football or football in general, we could definitely talk about that too. So trying to find a good mix of gamers and fantasy football fans to hang out here, hopefully on like Mondays and Fridays while we work on the game and chat about football and all that good stuff. So yeah, back to the game. This is my third stream. So on the last couple streams, we worked on a new ability called Bomb that turned out pretty good. And today I wanted to start with just a quick demo of something I've been working on for the game, which is basically like a turn order predictor. So we'll just kind of show part of the game here, but up along the top you'll see that this is a timeline for the upcoming turn order. This is actually kind of looking nasty. Let's scale that down a little bit. Okay, cool. So if you've played games like Grandia 2 or I don't know, that's the first one that comes to mind, but RPGs where you can kind of manipulate the upcoming turn order, Final Fantasy X is another perfect example. That's maybe even a better example because that's turn-based. But in Final Fantasy X, you can, depending on what move you're doing, it will modify the upcoming turn order. And something that I wanted to do in this game is have that kind of dynamic, but I also want to really encourage you to move the ball around in the game. And so for some of the abilities, I've added like a time boost when you change possession of the ball, for example, to a teammate or something like that. So here's the UI for that. So you can see that like this game breaker originally was going to be after the balancer here, but now they come before. And you can see how that works out in the rest of the timeline after a successful pitch, which is pretty cool. There's a couple of other abilities that will do similar things. Like if he pitches it over here, she gets a big boost. And then actually with her bomb ability, let's see if we like come over here. Oh, you know what? There's a bug in the bomb ability. Oh well, I'll have to fix that. But why is it not working? That's all right. I'll have to see what's going on. But anyway, yeah, you can see how the turn order has changed. There's a bunch of other abilities like a hurry up that kind of speeds people up, and then a pull ability. Pull is sort of a football term for blockers. And this character back here has a pull ability that will slow down an opponent. So let me switch gears a little bit here. Since that bomb ability isn't working perfectly, I'm going to comment it out for now. Make a note. This live stream has been really good for catching bugs. And also the other day I had a really bad bug show up on stream and I couldn't figure it out. But what was really cool is I was able to go back to the recorded video and see exactly what I did that caused the bug. And so later that day I was able to fix it very quickly just by kind of rewatching my steps. So I'm getting all kinds of value out of this so far, and I hope you all are enjoying it too. Definitely leave your feedback in the chat and comments. If there's more you want to see, less you want to see, and I will try to adjust. So, okay, so I wanted to also today start off with like a full match so you all can kind of see how that works. And my plan is to clip this out of the live stream and post it as a separate video and experiment with how that might work. So let me set up the game here. This will give you a good sense of how the AI is doing as well. And I have some really cool music that is going in the stream. This is a Metroid Remix album called Chozo Legacy by Blind and Game Chops. So Game Chops is a cool provider of music that I just found that is apparently available with a CC license. So we're trying that out today. Let me know what you think of that, if the levels are all right and everything. But I'm gonna pause that for just a minute and just leave the sound on for the game as we get into a match here. So this is my game, Fantasy Football Tactics. I'm going to be playing the team Easton Mount versus Cambria. So my goal is to get the ball right here and carry it into this goal zone represented by the orange tiles over here. The computer is going to do the same thing, try to get the ball and score over here. So let's go. All right, I'm going to move my striker up here. Now the computer is going to go through a few turns. All right, this is cool. Here's my blocker. I'm going to be able to move her up here and use an ability called Pull. And this will go horizontally across the field and allow me to slow down this guy. So we can preview, this is a new feature I just added. We can preview how the Game Breaker is going to get slowed down in the timeline. So he's going to be stuck there for a bit. He won't be able to do anything with the ball. And so hopefully I can come up here and deal some good damage to him. So I'll give her a speed boost here. This is the supporter. So she's like a hardcore fan of the team that was able to join the team. And her ability right now is called Hurry Up. Just sort of like haste in Final Fantasy. Alright, let's deal some damage with Flame here. I'm also going to move right in front of that guy so that he can't go right in front. Alright, let's try to tackle him and see if we can't get a fumble here. Ah, it's getting close. Let's see. What's going to be better? Probably this move. So to get the ball, I have to damage this guy and then hit him with an ability that can actually potentially cause a fumble. And then the ball will come out in a random direction right now. I'm contemplating changing that. But we're getting pretty close here. Ah, oh, missed. Come on. There we go. Ooh, we got super lucky. So the ball went straight to my striker and he still gets to move. So we're in business here. All right. Let's use Flame on... Oh, hang on, can I actually send this guy off? Oh yeah. Alright, let's take care of the Game Breaker. Now, when he gets hurt, he's going to go through a very dramatic animation and head to what I refer to as the medical tent. So in NFL football, there's like the blue medical tent. And in my game, there's a medical tent for each team. And when their balance hits 0, they have to go to the medical tent until the next score. So that guy is gone. It's a pretty significant advantage if you can knock somebody out. And I'm going to get to score here. So we're going to be leading 1-0. All right, so now we reset up for the next goal. You can see that the Game Breaker is back out from the medical tent. To say the computer did not do so hot on that first round there. I'm trying to decide who's best to speed up. She's going to have her turn next. The striker's always pretty good to have going. All right. Okay, we can get the ball here. Now we have a decision to make. So the mage is really good at sort of dealing damage. So we could deal a lot of damage to their team by doing that. We also could pitch the ball to our striker who has the next turn and be a little bit more aggressive in trying to score. Or we also have the blocker over here, so she would get another turn. But the striker is positioned a little bit better. Let's try it. Okay, he can't do anything else, so I expect these guys to come over and start attacking. And if they get lucky, they might be able to get a score. Okay, now we can do something cool here. So we're going to be able to slow down one of these guys. Who has more strength? I think it's the defender. Yeah, you can see their strength stat right here. So I think I'm going to come up. We'll do it from back here. It's a little more stylish. And do a pull. So once again, this is the one that slows them down. So we'll be able to send her back pretty far in the timeline. Oh, he fumbled. Yeah, he's going to be able to get it back. Now let's see, if I pitch it. Ah, here we go. Okay, we're going to be able to score here. All right, that's game. The computer wasn't so hot on that, but the other day I played against them, and it was a tie game. It was 1-1. They almost won. I got pretty lucky at the end. So. All right, so yeah, that's a quick demo of the full game. And now, next I thought we could dig into building a new level for the game. So let me get the music going again here. All right, let me show you guys the adventure mode as well. Haven't tested this in a bit. But here is what I call the adventure mode. So this is sort of the thing that glues all the matches together. And I'm going to be able to do some pretty cool things with this. But really, the initial inspiration was actually more like from fighting games. So the vibe of these matches reminds me a lot of just like a fighting game, because you're trying to like sort of, it's like the first to 2 victories wins basically, where each victory is a point in this game. And in a fighting game, you sort of progress through various levels, taking on various teams. And so that's sort of what I'm going for with this, but definitely with a little bit more of an RPG tinge to it. I'm still debating how much story I want to have. There is a whole story, a backstory for the game, but I haven't implemented dialogue or like any kind of plot or anything, so I'll probably keep that pretty loose just for scope reasons. But I put together a bunch of levels here. We can see that some of them are actually fleshed out, so that this is like a debug mode that just lets me unlock the levels. So these are the 3 levels that are actually sort of already implemented. So there's the Gothic Pasture, which I've shown in the past, and here's the bridge level. And so I can click this button and go into a match. And maybe I'll just kind of show you what that looks like real quick. So, you know, now we're in the bridge level. But a lot of those other levels that are on the screen are not actually fleshed out yet. But there's one that I thought we could try to build today called the Rain Jay. And that's this sort of bird-looking level right here. If I unlock it, you'll see it's just like a hard-coded purple, or what, not hard-coded, but a purple bird-looking thing. And the idea is that this bird sort of floats above the water here and has a continuous rainstorm falling down. And that's where like all the water from this river and the lagoon down here is sourced from. And so I want to be able to have matches on top of the bird. Which is maybe a strange idea, but I think it's going to be kind of cool. And it's called a Rain Jay. I wrote a song a long time ago. I haven't talked about the music, but I'm making all the music for the game as well. And I wrote a song a long time ago called Rain Jay, and I'll show it to y'all sometime. Maybe later today. Maybe we'll hook up like a demo version of the song. And I just pictured sort of like a blue jay type creature that has very colorful feathers and an ever-present sort of rainbow in the background, and it's always raining. And so that's what this is. And I thought we could try to build it. So let's do this. So I have a tool called Field Forge, and it can be a touch buggy at times, but it only has one user, which is me. And so I'm usually able to work through whatever I need. But it is a editor window in Unity. Pull this in a little bit, and it lets me do a bunch of stuff. So here's the Gothic Pasture, and this allows me to sort of set the whole geometry as well as the blocking colors for the level. And I can load, save, export mesh, like all this kind of stuff. So let's load up the Rain Jay level as it stands today. I have an enum for all of this. So if I click load, you can see this bird. It's actually like not too far off. Yeah, see, I said it was buggy, this kind of stuff. I just haven't prioritized polishing this up yet. So this is okay, but I really basically just want to start over on this. And I also think it would be cool if the goals were along the wings. So you have to kind of like curve out and back in, and then you have this whole area in the middle that is fair game for like a skirmish. So I'm just going to start over. And then one thing I wanted to do, I have some, let's see, how can I, there we go. I have some gizmos that draw, and I wanted to make sure I had a gizmo that drew for the center tile, so I know where that is. So let's step into the code real quick and add that. So there's this tile forge thing. And basically I just want to say like if tile.index.x equals 0. So 0, 0 is the center. Then let's draw something. What color can we use? White is probably pretty good still. What should we do? Could do a ray. Let's just do a sphere. I feel like sphere works the best. And kind of a bigger one. See if this works. Aha, there we go. Okay. And then for this level, I think going along the x-axis for the goals, is that what I want? I sort of want it to be like up and to the left and down and to the right. So that'll actually be along the z-axis, I believe. Set up the z-axis here. And then it's a little bit hard to see with the blocking colors all set to black. So let me think this through, how wide we want this to be. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Probably something like that is good. Let's add another blocking color. We'll just set this to black. So 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is going to be kind of like pixel art at this stage. But I just kind of want to get a sense of what this looks like first. I need to set the top here, set that to 1. Is that going to be wide enough? I think that's going to be too small. I just want to kind of block it in. Let's block out navigation on those two. And then we'll sort of just start filling in the overall shape, and then I'll do a quick test. So this would be like the tail. And then I think it'll kind of come out to here. Something like this. 2, 3, 4, 5. That doesn't look even, does it? And this will be like the head area up here. Okay, so this obviously looks kind of awful. So let's set up some goals. Right here. So we'll say that these are goals for player 1. These are goals for player 2. We need to set up some anchors for the camera. Now this is going to get a little bit strange. I don't think that's going to be good enough, but let's start with that for now. And then we need some setup tiles for each team. Maybe we'll kind of have them in a row. Or let's do it like this. One and back. So that'll be player one. Formation. And then I've given gizmos for these two. Maybe we'll add that. Formation player two. And then maybe the tent. Maybe both of the tents are back on the tail or something. Or one's on like the head. I don't know if I want that. No, let's try it. So this is player one knockout zone. That'll be a tent. It's player two knockout zone and also a tent. So we can see the tent show up here in the editor. You need to, oops, rotate that. Oh, what is happening? Okay, that's a weird bug. Okay, am I missing anything? Let's see. Let me go ahead and save this. I'm going to overwrite that old one. Let me validate the mesh, or the level. Field is valid. All right, perfect. So we should actually be able to try a match on this. Okay, it actually loaded. Let's go back to, it's called Ball at the Park. I don't know why. This is sort of the main scene of the game. Oh, right. Okay, I might need to restart Unity. That's going to get annoying if I have to do that every time. All right, let's set up a little test field for us. Range A. Let's see what this looks like. All right. Really hard to tell. Yeah, those camera anchors aren't going to be working so hot. Okay. Let's go back to Field Forge. Okay, first thing I want to do, let's add extra gizmos. Tile type. Maybe I'll just do a switch on this. So if it's a camera anchor, let's do like a black cube maybe. Tile type dot default. We don't want to do anything. Formation player one. Let's do a. Let's see what colors do we have. Don't have more. Let's do a magenta color. Actually, let's do that for player 2. We'll just make a orange color. So that would be sort of a lot of red, right? And some yellow, I think. So let's do like 0.9. Wait, these are bytes, right? Okay, so let's do like 225. Something like that. And then what's the next one? Nation. Actually, those are the big ones. And then we can see, I guess, the knockout zones. We probably should have to. Let's do yellow for player 1 knockout zone. What color haven't we used yet? We haven't used green. Do green for player 2. Default is just nothing. Okay. This should help us visualize the different types of areas. Oh, it's a little tough to see. That's definitely not an orange. It's a good RGB for orange. Oh. All right, full red. And no blue. The magenta isn't showing up that bright either. Let's make these a little bigger. Thanks for joining the stream. Hope you guys are doing well. Just working on the game a little bit today. Is it the light here? What color do I have set up for this? Let's brighten this up, maybe? Yeah, it's still really hard to see. That's okay. All right, so first thing I need to do, these camera anchors aren't gonna work, so let's just move it out to the corners for now. Eventually I want to get rid of all of these extra, but while we're designing the level, this will be helpful. So those are going to be the camera anchors. And then it was maybe a little bit too big, but I think it'll feel smaller once we kind of shape this up a little bit. So I kind of want these wings to come out this way. So let's back these off. And then have them really spread up. Like that. And then it should maybe like cut in a little bit here. So they look like wing tips. Kind of looks like it's a huge head now. I think it needs to come in further. Yeah, look at our reference over here. I think the tips need to go out more to the side, I guess, and then it comes in. Let's put these back. This head is like really awful. Let's pull this back. Let's get rid of this too. I'll have to put the tents back in. Well, let's put them somewhere kind of safe-ish for now. Where can we put the tents? Let's go down here for now. So it's player 1 knockout zone. It's player 2 knockout zone. Actually, you know what we could do? We could make these the eyes of the head. Maybe we'll do that later. Let's make these look a little bit more like feathers coming in. I need to practice my pixel art skills. All right, let's raise up all of this too, so we can start getting a better sense. Just raise it up by like 1 or 2 maybe, something like that. So we can kind of see the shape of it a little better. It's not looking right yet. Definitely this is coming up too much. This does not look like a bird yet. It's a little bit better. bird-ish, looking bird-ish. I think the head is like really throwing it off. The head is not going to go out that far. I think it just needs to be like a nice rounded thing up here. Let's pull it in a little more, and then certainly like those aren't going to be included. Yeah, okay, that front part's starting to look more bird-like. That's good. Be kind of cool if we had a special like spawn zone for the ball and it was like up at the beak, so like your team has to like go up here and get it and then like bring it over to a goal zone. That would be kind of a cool thing. I found though that the beginning of the matches are really boring if you can't like if somebody can't get the ball on like the first turn. All right, let's take a look at that tail here. I have just sort of like a reference image I'm using. I don't have that pulled up on the stream anywhere, but I'm not copying it exactly, but it's just a little bit helpful. So I think the tail needs to kind of like fan out a bit. So it's like these two maybe shouldn't be there. Yeah, hey, Digital Workbench. Yeah, this is creating a map, so I thought we'd do some level design today. And you can see how it's going. But this is like a little editor I have for the maps in the game. And yeah, that's a good suggestion. Hey, I also am curious, thanks for joining again today. Curious what you would like me to call you. I can keep calling you Digital Workbench, or I know you have a number of other aliases and you presumably have a real name, so let me know what you're comfortable with. And I'll start working on the taper. So what you're saying, taper it as it gets closer to the center. So like it should like be thicker on the edges and thinner in the center. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, okay, let's try it. So I have well, first I want to fan this out just a little bit more here, and then maybe I'll try that. Also, Digital Workbench, I checked out your tutorial. I haven't had enough time to like go through it, but the thing I saw that was really cool is that it was on Liquidfire. And when I started this project, actually I don't know if it was when I started this project, but at some point along in the development of it, I saw, looked like somebody else wrote it, I think his name is John, but had like an awesome tactics tutorial there. And I read through that entire thing and it was really helpful. Like it was cool to see how anybody building this kind of game has like just a plethora of the same problems to solve. And so I didn't know you were associated with that at all, so that's really cool. I assume that's the tutorial you're porting to Godot. Yeah, cool. Awesome. Small world. Alright, is that fanning out how I want it to? I think it needs to like come up one more here. So I build all this stuff in this editor because I'm not like doing any kind of actual mesh like navigation or anything like that. So what I do is this is effectively building up the data first. So it's like what's the slope type, what's the height of all the tiles, and then I can export a mesh from that, and then I bring that mesh into Blender and do any like extra touch up and texturing that I would like to do, if that makes sense. But then there's kind of a cool mode in the game that lets me swap between like just any model versus like the block. This is just like blocking. Yeah, there's not a lot of good tactics tutorials out there. Maybe I'll have to throw my hat into the ring if I have anything helpful to share with the community. Yeah, I definitely do have a step like that. So this is, and I can go back and change things at any time, but what I've been finding is that it's best to like build out a level and then do a ton of playtesting on it. This is not a revolutionary idea, but like do a ton of playtesting on it with just like the blocked colors, and then once it feels kind of stable, then it's like worthwhile to go through the process of actually creating the final art for it. I haven't seen CodeMonkey's tutorial, I don't think, or if I have, I forgot about it. This tail feels a bit, is it big? It should be about as big as the head. I think maybe, well, I don't know, from this angle, it actually looks kind of okay. Let's try the tapering that you suggested. Something else with the game that I have to keep in mind, I haven't mentioned this before, is, so I actually really originally wanted this to be like purely just a mobile game, because everybody seems to want good tactics games on mobile. They're easy to pick up and play. And I really wanted you to just be able to play it with like a single thumb. And I'm still following through on that. I've picked up like a Steam release along the way because that seems to be where gamers are. But I played the War of the Lions remake on iPad, or at least part of it, just to see how that port worked. And I don't think it's like the best port for sure, but something I found with that, and even if you go back to the original PlayStation version, you spend like, I don't know, an inordinate amount of time manipulating the camera around. And that was really painful on a touch screen. And so I made the decision to have basically a fixed camera, at least from the user's perspective. I hope to do some programmatic like camera changes like I showed last time. But as a result of that, I'm having to take on a very 2D style approach to the level design. So there's sort of like a rule. There's nothing that enforces this, but something I need to keep in mind is that if something has height to it, then generally it needs to be pushed towards the back. Because if I end up blocking any tile with height, like let's say I take this one and I bump the height up, like since the camera angle is fixed, you now can't actually tap any of these tiles that it's blocking, right? And so in a mobile game where there's literally no control over the camera, I have to be careful with that. So that's something that as I start doing these tapers down here, we'll need to take a look at. So let's start tapering. So I have a slope type, and these will be 2 up. What I'll do is lower the height by 1, but give the slope height of 1. And then I actually have like key commands. So you can now see that those are like slightly sloping down. We'll do the same thing with these. Okay, CodeMonkeys is a paid course. Nothing wrong with that. I'll just, yeah, I'll have to check it out at some point. Let's give it a slope height. Okay, those ones are actually correct. We need to rotate these. Is this sort of what you had envisioned? I think you're right. Like that slope, that's already looking more feather-like. And then if I even just like lower the height of those to match. Is that what you had in mind? It's a good suggestion. That's kind of cool. Cool effect. Yeah, and with this, like, I think on a lot of the levels that I've done up until now, they look better if everything is like real smooth, but to create the effect of feathers, like, it's kind of nice that there's these little triangles showing up, like, oh. Pixel in general, yeah, okay. Yeah, we can do both. We can do a little bit of both, which is kind of cool. Anyway, I think that's actually looking nice. And I can probably do a similar effect like on these feathers up here. I think these wings need to... I can't quite tell if those need to come up at all. Yeah, I have Fire Emblem Heroes. Yeah, I've played it. I've played around with it a bit. It's not. That's the mobile one, right? Where they have some like unlocking all the heroes and all that. I haven't put a ton of time into it, but I still have it on my phone. I still get push notifications from them daily wanting me to play. I played that a little bit, and then I have sort of Convaleria on my phone too, and I've made it through like a little bit of that. I wanted to see what they did there. I found their UI really overwhelming, and like my phone is small. I have an iPhone 12 mini, and so for me, I'm like, just give me big buttons, and that's what I'm kind of doing with my game, for better or worse. Kind of designing it for myself. Okay, let's keep going here. At this point, these like should probably start sloping up into the body. Let's do one slope type, two up. Like that. Yeah, I've heard the actual tactics, like the meat of it, is pretty decent, and that there's a lot of good free content. So I'm hoping to spend some more time with it. All right, I don't want to put like too much detail into the bird until I have the general layout good and we can do a little play testing on it. But let's at least kind of flay these out as well, like we have been doing. Yeah, I'm gonna move these tents later. I think it would be kind of cool if those end up being the eyes of the bird or something like that. What does this need? All right, let's actually save this. I just want to load this up in a quick game. Let's see if this works. Just to get a sense of the scope. This is looking like a nice feather effect, so I don't know if I misinterpreted your advice, but it was a good misinterpretation, I think. Let me just put these guys on CPU versus CPU and see how quick they're able to make progress towards a goal. Oh, you may have missed my demo earlier. I showed off, I built a feature since the last stream that lets you visualize changes in the turn order that are coming up. And I also modified some of the abilities so that they give like an explicit charge boost specifically around moving the ball around. So like you're encouraged a little bit more to pitch the ball and move the ball around because your ally will get, you know, a little bit of a boost in the turn order, which is nice. Cool, so she's moving. Yeah, she's gonna be able to score. Cool, great. All right, that didn't take too long. Yeah, it's like you got to give enough incentive to it, even if you're. So one of the abilities that everybody has is pitch, because I wanted, you know, if on any given turn that you have the ball, you should be able to do something with it. So everybody has pitch, and the only thing about it is you can only pass it like off to the side or behind you. But if you can pass it to the side and then that person gets a speed boost, it's nice. Since you load in models from Blender, are you using decals for the highlights? Decals for the highlights. I'm not sure I understand what you mean by highlights. If you can help clarify that, then I can definitely answer your question. Alright, cool. That's actually looking pretty. I'm pretty happy with that so far. I think the scope or the size, like scale of the level is pretty good. Oh, the tiles I can move to. Oh, yeah. So, here, let me pull that back up. Oh man, the inspector keeps crashing on me whenever I use the tool. Let me see if it'll show back up after I play. I just want to. Let me at least slow this down. Okay, so, all right, perfect. So we have a pause. So I think you're referring to like these highlights right here. So what I end up doing, maybe you'll confirm that this is what you're referring to, like these kinds of things. And also like the, presumably like the goal zones here. Yeah, so I do a mixture of things. So maybe I can show you. What can I show you? It's under fields. So I have a config object for each of the fields. So like if we look at the range A one right now, oh yeah, the inspector's busted. Anyway, in here, this is just a scriptable object, which is something in Unity. I think you're familiar with Unity, but for anybody that's not, it's just it's a serialized object that's not a mono behavior, and it's sort of a nice tool for like setup and configurations and things like that. I create one for each of the different play fields that you can have a match on, and it has a little bit of metadata. So one of the things that I can set is like the binary serialized version of the level that we're actually designing here. So I'm doing custom like binary serialization for that. And then in there is all the data for like to generate the 3D model. So all of this right now that we're looking at, that's all procedurally generated. And you can think of it, it's basically a voxel editing tool, but I have like some extra stuff to be able to do these slopes and like raising the corners and that kind of thing. And so that's all in there. It's generated on the fly when you load the level. Like this is not stored anywhere. Like there's no 3D model for this. I actually generate meshes on the fly as I read in the data based on like the size of the tile and like what slope it has and everything. And then so regardless of if I'm just using like the blocked level, then that's what it does. But then in this field config, it could take in a prefab that basically just says use this instead, right? Like use this instead of doing the generated geometry. And so it'll just take whatever 3D model I give it. It doesn't have to be from Blender. It can be from anywhere. It could be an asset, or anything like that. It's just a prefab, and it'll just instantiate it and put it at the center, and then it's just pure like visual concern. But regardless of whether I'm using that or the procedurally generated model, I always generate the geometry for the top of every tile. And I do that for a few reasons. So one, I'll attach that mesh to a collider so that I can detect clicks and stuff really easily. And then I also still generate a mesh for the highlights that are here. So the mesh that's generated will always match whatever the underlying data was, but then I can kind of color it however I want. And if we like stay in the scene view here and watch, as it like highlights different colors, and even that cursor, this cursor, that's just a texture that gets laid directly on top of a procedurally generated mesh that comes from just basically the top side of the quote unquote cube. It's not actually a cube because it can be misshapen, but that's the general sense. So no, they're not decals. They're actually just meshes that I turn on and off, which is a long-winded answer to your question. But yeah, for each tile, it has one what's called like highlight that I can turn on, and then if you saw there, like it just turned blue. So I can kind of like swap between different colors to indicate different things. And then I'm thinking for accessibility, I'll probably generate some textures so that, if you have a hard time discerning between different colors, that maybe there will be certain textures that mean certain things, and I can just paste that right on top as well. Yeah, so there's a good amount of like procedurally generated stuff I'm doing for the game, and then yeah, you can swap it out sort of when it's fully modeled and textured. Hope that answered your question. Yeah, cool. I get excited talking about it, so having worked on this stuff for a long time and then having somebody interested in it is pretty fun. So sorry if I went too far. All right, let's get back to modeling this. Does it look bird-like enough? I'm still wondering if, I think these wings might need to come in a little bit more. Even potentially that much. Yeah, cool. All right. Glad you enjoyed it. Let me look at my reference again. I think it needs to just go up a diagonal from the head. So yeah, straight down. Just basically be 3 pixels here. So let's try this. Let's bring these back in. Yeah, that's a little bit more what I was hoping. This might need to curve a little bit more too. Aha, yeah, there we go. That's looking a little better. To do a tile-based approach. Having overhangs. What's a overhang? What do you mean by an overhang? So a unit could stand actually under another unit. Oh, yeah. I punted on that. I just said, no, I'm not going to do that for this game. I've wanted to because it opens up a lot of really fun level design things. But it's really hard. Have you researched how Final Fantasy Tactics did that? Oh, nice, cool. Nice work. Yeah, it's a tough problem. Like for me, it was, well, like the original Tactics game, like I think you just leave the cursor there and it'll toggle between the two options, right? From like a usability perspective, and then like just from the technical perspective of like mapping your nodes and how like what tiles can go to what tiles, it without much customization in the maps. Yeah. Put a delay if there's more than one. Cool. Yeah, I think that's a good solution. All right, I'm worried a little bit about like the height, like we talked about. So before I go much further, I want to see if I can get like a little bit more of a vertical shape that looks like a bird without blocking tiles behind. So I think what I can do, I don't think it needs to come up much. Let me bring these back down actually. And I think if I just like slope it down on this side, then you should still be able to access the tiles. Something I do too is like, let's see, oh wait, what's that? There you go. Oh, Whips accidentally grabbed the wrong tile, hang on. Oh, those are still navigation blocked too. Oh no, that's a starting tile, okay, that's okay. I have key commands to make all this a little bit simpler. It doesn't always work. But. So if I give it just like a little bit of a curve like that, and then same with these. And then I can really taper the beak, I think. By Oscar Stolberg? No, I haven't seen anything by Oscar Stolberg. Educate me. Who's Oscar Stolberg? He has procedural maps that are pretty crazy. Oh, cool. Yeah, Townscaper. Okay, that sounds familiar. Are they like low poly or not low poly? Medium poly. There's a lot of cool stuff happening with that right now. I think it'd be cool. Like this tool, it's really obviously rudimentary, but at some point I would like to actually rebuild it or like port it into the game itself and then maybe add some more features to it as like a level editor or something. But this seems to be like the basis of a game that people like to play, you know, where they're more creating stuff. So that'd be an interesting exercise. And then, yeah, like then potentially like having a whole procedural layer on top of it. I figure if I build enough levels and I can kind of understand what the patterns are, then maybe I could get into some more of that as well. Oops, I forgot this one. So something on these corners I can do that could be kind of neat is I can actually make these like a 3-up, like that. So it kind of like curves around. Can't quite tell if that's nice or not though. I think maybe actually what I want is for it to be rotated like that. Yeah, it looks more like a feather. Pixel layer then uses a wave function. There's an annoying like emoji icon that shows up right over everybody's most recent message. How can I get rid of that? Reactions. Ah, perfect. Okay, now I can actually read. Okay. Does a wave function collapse to pick the mesh for each tile? Pixel layer then uses a wave function. I guess I don't understand what collapse means in this context. To pick the mesh. So he has maybe a set of mesh, like tiled meshes that he can pick from. Oh, it's a procedural method. Okay, I haven't researched that. That would be good for me to get into. What do we think? I think these wings are actually looking pretty cool. We can probably even like do more feathery elements as it's coming in, like an extra layer. Let's do a quick test of this though. I need a smoother workflow for testing. This works for now. Oh, what is wrong? It crashed. No goal zone tiles found. Oh yeah, I took out the goal zone tiles. The game doesn't know what to do if it's not a valid field, so I at least have that and like really loud warnings. So let's talk about the goals for a second. Maybe I can get your opinion. So, oh, hang on, you have a question first. Does movement differentiate between a sloped tile and a flat one? Not currently. It does not. But my plan is, I mean, it could start to inhibit movement if it's like steep enough. But my thought was more along the lines of modifying your chances of success or modifying your chances of holding onto the ball if you're on a sloped tile. So like if somebody was holding onto the ball and they were standing like right here, they would actually have a greater chance of fumbling than if they were on the flat ground here. The idea is like you're more off balance or something. But I do have jump restrictions that are like in the Final Fantasy Tactics sense. So each unit has a jump stat, and I calculate the difference between two adjacent tiles, and if the delta is greater than their jump, and it's a jump of 1, 2, or 3 is all that you're allowed to do. So that restricts your movement. The game was feeling really stiff, so the other thing I did was I allowed you to move through allies without penalty. And I'm pretty happy with how that looks, that the guys will actually like kind of shift out of the way as you go. But yeah, I could restrict movement a little bit if the tile is too sloped. Yeah, it's been like this for years, and I was realizing that like since all the AI logic and you're so incentivized to like whenever anybody has the ball, it's like everybody goes and centers right around the ball, and so now I've created this problem where it's like, okay, how do you get out of that mess, and also how do you like spread things out a little bit more? And so I've started to work on some team AI types that like give positive scores to like, hey, like spread out, move the ball around, to create different types of skirmishes, And yeah, the game really opened up, I think, when I made that change. It feels a lot smoother. Actually, the games go faster now, so you can get through a game in just a few minutes. I actually did that earlier. I think you missed it. I did a full playthrough of a game, and I'll probably try to clip that and post it as a separate video so you can get a sense of what it looks like. Okay, so let's add some goals. Let me ask you a question. I was thinking it'd be really cool. I want you to play basically like along the wings, right? But I'm wondering how far out to put the goals and like how many. I'm almost kind of interested to try a level where there's only one goal zone tile on each side, and it's like out here on the tips, like maybe like right here and here. I think would be kind of cool. I forget if part of the validation is saying that there's at least 3 goal zone tiles, because if there's not at least 3, then your opponent, they could actually camp out on these 4 adjacent ones and prevent you from scoring. Let's make that the one for player 1 and player 2 here, like that. Is that valid? No, yeah. Player 1 should have at least 3 goal zone tiles. Camping becomes the issue. Yep. 2 would work, as long as it wasn't on an edge. Let me think about this. Where do we want 3? It would fit really well, like right here. I think that's kind of where I had it before. Just like that. Let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's pretty close to here. But if I make that change where you have to come up here to get the ball, then it's pretty interesting. Maybe everybody starts on the head and you have to get the ball like up here. I haven't implemented that feature, so I won't be able to do that today. Like if you start here and then you have to like come back out to this area and it spreads out. I think that's kind of a cool concept for this level. So I'm happy with that. Okay, let's do a quick... Oh, player 1 should have at least 3 goals on. Let me clear this, I think. Yeah, field is valid. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, there's no real like inventory or anything like that, but yeah, like the tail is sort of useless at the moment. I need to think that through a little bit more. I have some ideas for things that I might do, like to add items that spawn on the map to like maybe help you advance in your level, like in your job and stuff like that. And so it could always become a spawn point for stuff like that. I've had so many ideas for this game. It's hard to fit them all in. One of the ideas was that there is just like a much more free-form scoring system, and there would be different ways to score different kinds of points, you know, like a field goal. Looks like you can easily tap every tile. And doing the work. Yep. Ideas are the ideas are the easy part, right? It's easy to come up with ideas. Really hard to pick the good ones, and even harder to actually implement them. Okay, I'm generally happy with this so far. Could even experiment with like, maybe the ball is up here, but all the spawn, or like maybe a couple of your players spawn down here on the tail, and a couple spawn on the head. And it sort of creates like 2 battles that happen, right? Like these guys can start going at each other and like getting in position to score. Well, these guys kind of fight for the ball. That would be pretty cool. Use the space. I haven't really experimented with that much yet. right, let's put in like another layer of feathers and see what that looks like. That head still definitely needs some work. Maybe I'll at least move the tents up here to look like eyes. Where should the eyes be? Here? Here? Yeah, that looks more right. So the tents, I explained this in the demo earlier, but basically they're purely visual. But when a player gets knocked out, they automatically go to what I refer to as the medical tent. So I don't know if you watch football at all, American football, but they always have a blue medical tent on the side. So whenever a player gets hurt, they like go in there and they can get checked for a concussion or like get tape on an ankle or whatever. So I was kind of inspired by that, where each team has their own tent, and when a player gets knocked out, they automatically go there, and then they don't come back out until somebody scores. So it solves a few problems. It solves the first problem of like having just a body that's blocking space on the field that you can't navigate through or whatever, and that you can't get to. But two, it also gives like a major incentive to fully knocking out one of the opponents, right? Because then all of a sudden it can become like a 4-on-3 game or 4-on-2 game, and then if you knock everybody out, then like you're gonna score. You can even sit there and grind experience points or whatever. But if you don't do it right, then you can waste your time attacking the enemy when they end up scoring on you. Yeah, so that's how I did it. They just kind of magically get they like do a dramatic animation and then get transported to the tent. I don't know why this isn't working. Keeps her. There you go. Okay. So these won't be black. They'll be the colors of the teams. So it might look a little weird, but it looks cool right here. Definitely looks like little eyes. Give some feathers here. I think that's going to block behind it. Oh, is that a trend? I know. Yeah, I guess I've seen like some wolf games that have 2 different eye colors. And of course, Yuna from Final Fantasy X, 2 different eye colors. Okay, now let's actually do. I'm trying to think. Is it gonna look too bunched up if there's like another row of feathers right in front, or should these be flat? Let me just try it real quick. If I do like just this next level. Oh, I see, it's like merging into that. I don't think that's what I want. think that's what I want. Let's try that. It's not really clear at all what's happening there. Oh, really? I wasn't aware of that. That is sad. I had no idea. Yeah, let's see what this looks like on the other side. I think it was those that I grabbed. Yeah, that looks symmetrical. So, you know, the other thing that I can do is I can start playing with color a little bit more. Definitely makes it look like feathery. Don't have much of a body coming up yet. But yeah, I can start playing with color to help accentuate these a little bit more. So I can kind of show you how that works. So for the procedural, let me save what I have here. For the procedural generation, I basically create a texture out of these colors. And I really like bright, bold colors, so. And it's supposed to kind of look very rainbowy here. Let's do something like that. So I can kind of layer these. But I was thinking each layer, oops. The feathers can be a different color, so it's easier to see the difference. So I can just like come in here and change the blocking index to like a 3. Let's do. Maybe make those like the. Oh, I picked up more than I wanted to. Hang on. Oh, that's okay. Let's add an extra layer of feathers here as well. Something like that. I don't know. That helps make it a little bit more clear. It's like too many colors with the orange. This is just to give a sense, like I said, you know, these colors don't really matter right now, but they do help me create like programmatically texture groups and stuff so that I have a little bit of an easier time when I go into Blender. Let's change these to the pink. Yeah, that's kind of looking a little bit cooler. Okay, let's work on the body a bit, and the head needs a little work. I want to try to raise the body up at least a little. I don't know if I'll really be able to though. Oops. Can I get away with 2? Yeah, it's not too bad. I'm using OBJ format, which is just a plain text format, and it's relatively well supported and has some good features. So you might experiment with that. Let's see, if I'm thinking actually about a bird though, its head is above its body, right? It's actually about the shape of it. Okay, let's finish this outline here of feathers. Okay, and now I think I want to do another level where they're kind of flayed. It kind of gives the impression of a body too. All right. Do we need one more color? Make everybody's eyes hurt. It is a rainbow J, so it needs to have full rainbow of colors. And of course the beak should be black. That makes it hard to see. Here, let me do something. Let me add a beak color specifically, because the rest of these tiles are going to go away once I'm happy with change it to like a gray. So those are all just going to go away. Oh, I didn't change the side color of any of these either. Oh, that's going to be painful, but let me do that. What are your thoughts on this design so far? I think it's clashing too much with having the tail be different, so let me just continue the outline. Oops. So these should actually be pink. And a lot more bird-like. So it's at least looking like a bird, whether it's good or not. TBD. A lot comes through in the texturing phase for sure, so you might not have a really good sense until that. I need to add a tool that lets me select all of the tiles of a particular color. That would make these kinds of changes a lot easier. Maybe the outline at the tail where it meets the body be less outlined. Right here. Like maybe get rid of the blue on the inside here, or something with the pink. There we go. Yeah, so it's more focusing on feather tips instead of drawing all the way around. Maybe. I understand what you mean. I'm not sure what a good solution is. Let me try getting rid of this inner layer, maybe. At least like changing the color. I could make all these purple. Maybe I like just get rid of the blue down here. Maybe that helps settle it in. Is that a little nicer? Blue at the bottom still. Okay. Like that, maybe? The head. I'm not happy with the head. I think it's too wide. Yeah, it's nicer. Yeah, I'll have to keep iterating on this. Let's I'm about to wrap it up for the day, so let's end with something a little bit more fun. Let's try to, should we try this thing out? I can hard code where the ball spawns. So let's try this idea that a couple people start up here. Like two from each team start in the head and two from each team start in the tail. And the ball is also spawned. Like maybe even on the beak. Should we try that? And then let's see. With the computer, we can watch a computer game. Or maybe I'll play another quick game. Okay, so let me take away these spawn points. Where should they spawn? Formation player 2. Player 1. Formation player 2. Formation player 1. Let's validate that. All right, how do I want to hack in getting the goal spawn point? I could add an extra tile type. I don't really love that, but let's do that for now. Or let's see. Not goal. Ball spawn point. And then in the field, let me see. Where do I spawn the ball? I think that's actually in the field state. So the field is data separate from the field state. Where do I put the ball? Maybe it's even in the internal field state. Where do I initialize the tile with football? It's been a long time since I've messed with this code. Okay. Get center tile. Right here. Set up next play. So think I want... This might mess things up. Where all do I reference this? That's actually what I want. I think if I just modify this, instead of always returning 0, 0, then if there is a tile that had the spawn, let's try that. So I'll just get this in real quickly. Custom spawn point, it's custom spawn tile. And then when I read it in, if it's a ball spawn point, and I say custom spawn tile equals tile, and then return spawn or custom. Otherwise, the center tile. I think this will work. All right, do you guys want me to play the game, or should we just watch the computer duke it out? I might need to restart Unity in order to change it. Either way, okay. It's set up for the computer to do it right now. So let's just see if this works. How we think it will. Oh no, it didn't spawn the ball at the right point. It spawned the units at the right point though. It's pretty mesmerizing watching the computer play against itself. I've definitely lost some cycles, some development cycles, just sitting here watching this. The overall level actually looks pretty cool. It's definitely catching the eye like I want it to. There's a few spots on there that don't look super feathery yet, but I can keep working on this. I never get the levels are always very iterative process, going back and forth. I really like that swap ability. It's pretty fun. When I implemented it, the computer started using it in ways that I didn't anticipate. And I was like, wow, that's really nice. Okay, so that unit just got knocked out and was sent to the orange medical tent. So, oh, and so is he. Cambria is looking pretty good here to get a point. Yeah, teleport's cool. I also want to add, for that character that was just knocked out, he's a striker. And I think it'd be cool if he's given an ability where he can traverse chasms, sort of regardless of the distance, because there's a couple levels I have built with that idea in mind. Alright, I think these guys are going to get a point here. The ball might actually go to the correct spot after the point. Oh, you know what? With all the color, you cannot tell at all where the goal is. I'm gonna have to keep that in mind. Okay, let's see where he takes the ball back to. He might take it to the beak. Yeah, he did. Perfect. Okay, so there's just a bug with the initial spawn point. Yeah, I was thinking, so for that character, I was thinking they could jump over any gap of any size as long as they have the ball. Yeah, the pathfinding is the hard part. So I think what I can do, because you can only move in like straight lines in this game since it's not like a hex grid. And internally, I still kind of have, you can query like any node on the graph by the XZ coordinate. It just might be null if there's not a valid tile there. So I think what I can do is just keep going in a direction, like find where it's null, and then keep going. And if I find one eventually that's no longer null, then I know that that's a gap, and I can just zip them across it. Have to see though. I think Camera is going to win pretty quick here. East Mount is powerless. Oh, he leveled up. I don't know if I've shown you the level up screen. Yep, that's game. That is game. All right. Okay, yeah, just added one further. I think for me, so here's what how I think I'm going to do it. Maybe this is helpful for you. I don't think I'm going to add teleporting over gaps as a movement thing. So movement is going to just stay how it is. But if I do it as an ability, then I can use kind of that framework that we looked at last time to say like where are the valid tiles where you could sort of like cast a spell, right? And then when the spell is cast, which doesn't depend on pathfinding, it's just really like just a range-based thing. So I can basically just look within some radius of where the guy is and or where the unit is and say, okay, as soon as I find an empty tile, then like keep going in that direction and see if you find one that's not. And then that whenever it's not, that will be a valid tile to like cast your teleport ability on. And then I can also say like you're not allowed to have a unit there or something like that. I'm not. Yeah, that'll actually be kind of interesting. So we'll see. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up for today. Thanks again so much for joining. It's awesome to have people here interested in the game and chatting about this stuff. And I will probably be back on Monday. Mondays and Fridays work generally pretty well for this. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. And if you haven't liked and subscribed, then please do so. Really appreciate it. There's also like a new hype feature apparently rolling out. I don't know what that is, but it's like a super like or something like that. I haven't seen it yet, but if you see that, you can try that. See if you can get the word out. I'm going to try to cut up a couple videos from this one too, like shorter videos and get those shared out. So should be good. Anyway, yeah, thanks again. Thanks for your help on the bird too. That was really helpful, some of those thoughts. And we'll keep iterating on it and get it good. So have a good weekend. I will see you all on Monday. Thanks.